31st, year 2024 almost gone. And this will be the last reading session of this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. Architects of our own beliefs. Try this. Take a random person and put them in a room with some buttons to push. Then tell them that if they do something specific, some undefined something that they have to figure out, a light will flash on. Wait. Oh, no, 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 no. Sorry. We've been here. We've gone through this. Ah, okay, okay, okay. No, 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 no. Ooh, we covered a lot of this. Pain is part of the process. Okay. Picasso. Okay, we know with Pablo Picasso. No, we didn't go through that. The failure slash success paradox. When Pablo Picasso was an old man, he was sitting in a cafe in Spain, doodling on a used napkin. He was nonchalant about the whole thing, drawing whatever amused him in that moment, kind of the same way teenage boys draw penises on bathroom stalls. Except this was Picasso, so his bathroom stall penises were more like cubist impressionist awesomeness laced on top of faint coffee stains. Anyway, some woman sitting near him was looking on in awe. After a few moments, Picasso finished his coffee and crumpled up the napkin to throw away as he left. The woman stopped him. Wait, she said. Can I have the napkin you were just drawing on? I'll pay you for it. Sure, Picasso replied. $20,000. The woman's head jolted back as if he had just flung a brick at her. What? It took you like 2 minutes to draw that. No, ma'am, Picasso said. It took me over 60 years to draw this. He stuffed the napkin in his pocket and walked out of the cafe. Improvement at anything is based on thousands of tiny failures, and the magnitude of your success is based on how many times you failed at something. Oh, that's beautiful. I'll read this sentence again, but before that, I'll add another similar story. And also, I invite everyone to send likes my way. Likes, comments, and paid memberships are all welcome. So, once someone had a problem with their door lock, they couldn't open the door, and they had to call for help. So, the master came and he fixed the problem within 10 seconds. And the guy was very happy. Oh, wow, you did a great job. How much do I owe you? And the master named his price, let's say $500. And the guy was, what? $500 for just 10 seconds of this? And the master said, no, you are not paying me for those 10 seconds. You are paying me for the 10 years I have spent to learn how to open doors in 10 seconds. It's very similar. Yeah, the story is very similar to that of Picasso. I didn't know this story of Picasso. I think I'll keep it in my mental toolkit as well. So again, improvement at anything is based on thousands of tiny failures, and the magnitude of your success is based on how many times you failed at something. Mhm. If someone is better than you at something, then it's likely because she has failed at it more than you have. If someone is worse than you, it's likely because he hasn't been through all of the painful learning experiences you have. Mhm. J. Robert says, what are we talking about? This is a reading session, and thank you for the like, whoever it was. Hi, Jay. So, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, okay? A New York bestseller. I'm reading this for my followers, okay? So, yeah. If you think about a young child trying to learn to walk, that child will fall down and hurt itself hundreds of times. Yeah, I love this example. I give this example myself very often. But at no point does that child ever stop and think, oh, I guess walking just isn't for me. I'm not good at it. Avoiding failure is something we learn at some later point in life. I'm sure a lot of it comes from our education system, which judges rigorously based on performance and punishes those who don't do well. Another large share of it comes from overbearing or critical parents who don't let their kids screw up on their own often enough and instead punish them for trying anything new or not preordained. Yeah. And then we have all the mass media that constantly expose us to stellar success after success, while not showing us the thousands of hours of dull practice and tedium that were required to achieve that success. At some point, most of us reach a place where we're afraid to fail, where we instinctively avoid failure and stick only to what is placed in front of us or only what we're already good at. Mm. This confines us and stifles us. We can be truly successful only at something we're willing to fail at. If we're unwilling to fail, then we're unwilling to succeed. A lot of this fear of failure comes from having chosen shitty values. For instance, if I measure myself by the standard, make everyone I meet like me, I will be anxious because failure is 100% defined by the actions of others, not by my own actions. I'm not in control, thus, my self worth is at the mercy of judgments by others. Whereas, if I instead adopt the metric improve my social life, I can live up to my value of good relations with others, regardless of how other people respond to me. My self worth is based on my own behaviors and happiness. Yeah, I'll just add one thing before proceeding. Mm, Recently, a family member told me that she wants to see her loved ones respect her. And in my mind, I didn't tell this to her, I didn't convey it verbally yet. But in my mind, I was like, okay, how are you going to do that? Respect is actually earned. Are you going to make them respect you? How? And respect is earned through achievement. Yeah. So if that's your metric, uh, if your value is respect, then how are you going to measure that, and how are you going to achieve that? Um, if you can, and even if you achieve stuff, some people will respect you, others won't. Some people still hate Trump. Yeah, a lot of people still hate Trump, although he achieved something which seemed almost impossible to a lot of people. Yeah, but still, he did not earn his respect. Yeah. Hello, Shadow. Why do you want me to say your name? uh, anyway, I said your name, so give me a like. Okay, let's make this win-win. Okay. uh, and welcome to my life. So yeah, so I think that maybe if she to pursue continues pursuing respect as something she's after from her loved ones, she might not get there ever, because especially when it's your family member that achieves something, doesn't matter. You still may regard that person as your mom, sister, brother, son, and not respect that person as much as that person will be respected by her fans. Famous people divorce too, so their fame, their respect and veneration by millions doesn't automatically generate respect in the eyes of their loved ones. That's it. Okay, let's continue with the book. Avoiding failure. Oh no, we did this. No? Yeah. hmm Shitty values, as we saw in chapter 4, involve tangible external goals outside of our control. The pursuit of these goals causes great anxiety, and even if we manage to achieve them, they leave us feeling empty and lifeless because once they are achieved, there are no more problems to solve. Better values, as we saw, are process oriented. Something like express myself honestly to others, a metric for the value honesty, is never completely finished. It's a problem that must continuously be re engaged. Every new conversation, every new relationship brings new challenges and opportunities for honest expression. The value is an ongoing, lifelong process that defies completion. Hmm, that's interesting. If your metric for the value success by worldly standards is buy a house and a nice car, and you spend 20 years working your ass off to achieve it, once it's achieved, the metric has nothing left to give you. Hmm. Then say hello to your midlife crisis, because the problem that drove you your entire adult life was just taken away from you. There are no other opportunities to keep growing and improving. Hmm. And yet it's growth And yet, it's growth that generates happiness, not a long list of arbitrary achievements. Achievements. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense, yeah. In this sense, goals, as they are conventionally defined, graduate from college, buy a lake house, lose 15 pounds, are limited in the amount of happiness they can produce in our lives. They may be helpful when pursuing quick, short term benefits, but as guided for the overall trajectory of our life, they suck. Picasso remained prolific his entire life. He lived into his 90s and continued to produce art up until his final years. Had his metric been become famous, or make a buttload of money in the art world, or paint 1,000 pictures, he would have stagnated at some point along the way. He would have been overcome by anxiety or self doubt. He likely wouldn't have improved and innovated his craft in the ways he did decade after decade. Mm. The reason for Picasso's success is exactly the same reason why, as an old man, he was happy to scribble drawings on a napkin alone in a cafe. His underlying value was simple and humble, and it was endless. It was the value, quote, honest expression, unquote. And this is what made that napkin so valuable. Beautiful, poetic. Yeah. Okay, next subchapter is called Pain is Part of the Process. Okay. In the 50s, a Polish psychologist named Kazimierz Dabrowski studied World War II survivors and how they coped with traumatic experiences in the war. This was Poland, so things had been pretty gruesome. These people had experienced or witnessed mass starvation, bombings that turned cities to rubble, the Holocaust, the torture of prisoners of war, and the rape and or murder of family members, if not by the Nazis, then a few years later by the Soviets. As Dubrovsky studied the survivors, he noticed something both surprising and amazing. A sizable percentage of them believed that the wartime experiences they'd suffered, although painful and indeed traumatic, had actually caused them to become better, more responsible, and yes, even happier people. Many described their lives before the war as if they'd been different people then, ungrateful for and unappreciative of their loved ones. lazy and consumed by petty problems, entitled to all they'd been given. After the war, they felt more confident, more sure of themselves, more grateful, and unfazed by life's trivialities and petty annoyances. Well, this kind of makes sense, and today's generation has the same issue, especially in well developed countries where they think everything is for granted, like democracy, the ability to speak your mind, to have tattoos and piercings on your body, to have the haircut you wish. There are countries where all of this is punishable. Sometimes they just not only beat you, they also rape you and kill you. Chechnya, Iran, many Muslim countries, Asian countries, in even some Christian countries in Africa, conservatism sucks. Religious conservatism is even worse, So it doesn't matter, Christian or Muslim or some other form of religious conservatism. Still, it's pretty bad, you know. So, but yeah, what's the answer? Like, is the answer like have someone like Putin come and squeeze you and kill your relatives and imprison thousands of people? No, that would suck as well. And in North Korea, people are not happier. Suicide rates are all very high in North Korea as well. The situation is so bad that there the government stated that it is a crime to commit suicide, and not only that, but the family members of the suicide of the person who commits suicide are punished for the fact that the family member committed suicide. That's crazy. But that radical law was dictated, I am sure, by the very high levels of suicide rates. So, no, I don't know. Okay, let's continue with the chapter and see what Mark says in the book. Obviously, their experiences have been horrific, and these survivors weren't happy about having had to experience them. Many of them still suffered from the emotional scars and lashings of war had left on them, but some of them had managed to leverage those scars to transform themselves in positive and powerful ways. And they aren't alone in that reversal. For many of us, our proudest achievements come in the face of the greatest adversity. Our pain often makes us stronger, more resilient, more grounded. Many cancer survivors, for example, report feeling stronger and more grateful after winning their battle to survive. Many military personnel report the mental resilience gained from withstanding the dangerous environments of being in a war zone. Well, we also have PTSD and stuff, but maybe I'm just mixing two different things. I don't know. Dabrowski argued that fear and anxiety and sadness are not necessarily always understandable or unhelpful states of mind. Rather, they are often representative of the necessary pain of psychological growth. And to deny that pain is to deny our own potential. Just as one must suffer physical pain to build stronger bone and muscle, one must suffer emotional pain to develop greater emotional resilience, a stronger sense of self, increased compassion, and a generally happier life. Oh, okay. Our most radical changes in perspective often happen at the tail end of our worst moments. It's only when we feel intense pain that we're willing to look at our values and question why they seem to be failing us. We need some sort of existential crisis to take an objective look at how we've been deriving meaning in our life and then consider changing course. Okay. It reminds me of, like no pain, no gain. Yeah. Even if we want muscle, yeah, more muscle. We need to go through those training sessions, experience some pain, and we have biceps and triceps. You know, they oppose each other in the same arm, yeah, but the arm is functional thanks to that. The fact that we have two or more different types of muscles, you know, when you relax your arm, one group of muscles is relaxed, the other group is tense. And when you fold your arm, it's the opposite. The other group is tense, and the first group is relaxed, you know. So, and the arm works that way, yeah. The society works that way. In a democracy, you have diversity, you have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, etc. Yeah, which is not obviously anarchy, which doesn't mean you can kill whomever you want. And I would say freedom of speech also doesn't mean you can threaten people, you can make people commit suicide with your psychological pressure with outing people, etc., etc. Okay, now let's continue a little more. Mm. You could call it hitting bottom or having an existential crisis. I prefer to call it weathering the shitstorm. Choose what suits you. And perhaps you're in that kind of place right now. Perhaps you're coming out of the most significant challenge of your life and are bewildered because everything you previously thought to be true and normal and good has turned out to be the opposite. That's good. That's the beginning. I can't stress this enough, but pain is part of the process. It's important to feel it because if you just chase after highs to cover up the pain, if you continue to indulge in entitlement and delusional positive thinking, if you continue to over indulge in various substances or activities, then you'll never generate the requisite motivation to actually change. When I was young, any time my family got a new VCR or stereo, I would press every button, plug and unplug every cord and cable, just to see what everything did. With time, I learned how the whole system worked. And because I knew how it all worked, I was often the only person in the house who used this stuff. As is the case for many millennial children, my parents looked on as if I were some sort of prodigy. To them, the fact that I could program the VCR without looking at the instruction manual made me the second coming of Tesla. It's easy to look back at my parents' generation and chuckle at their technophobia. But the further I get into adulthood, the more I realize that we all have areas of our lives where we're like my parents and the new VCR. We sit and stare and shake our heads and say, but how? When really it's as simple as just doing it. I get emails from people asking questions this all the time. And for many years, I never knew what to say to them. There's the girl whose parents are immigrants and saved for their whole lives to put her through med school. But now she's in med school and she hates it. She doesn't want to spend her life as a doctor, so she wants to drop out more than anything. Yet she feels stuck. So stuck, in fact, that she ends up emailing a stranger on the internet, me, and asking him a silly and obvious question like, how do I drop out of med school? Or the college guy who has a crush on his tutor. So he agonizes over every sign, every laugh, every smile, every diversion into small talk, and emails me a 28-page novella that concludes with the question, how do I ask her out? Or the single mother whose new adult kids have finished school and are loafing around on her couch, eating her food, spending her money, not respecting her space or her desire for privacy. She wants them to move on with their lives. She wants to move on with her life. Yet she's scared to death of punishing her children away. Scared to the point of asking, how do I ask them to move out? Wow. Hmm. These are VCR questions. From the outside, the answer is simple. Just shut up and do it. But from the inside, from the perspective of each of these people, these questions feel impossibly complex and opaque. Existential riddles wrapped in enigmas packed in a KFC bucket full of Rubik's cubes. VCR questions are funny because the answer appears difficult to anyone who has them and appears easy to anyone who does not. The problem here is pain. Filling out the appropriate paperwork to drop out of med school is a straightforward and obvious action. Breaking your parents' hearts is not. Asking a tutor out on a date is as simple as saying the words. Risking intense embarrassment and rejection feels far more complicated. Yeah. Asking someone to move out of your house is a clear decision. Feeling as if you're abandoning your own children is not. Yeah. Yes. I struggled with social anxiety throughout much of my adolescence and young adult life. I spent most of my days distracting myself with video games and most of my nights in either drinking or smoking away my uneasiness. For many years, the thought of speaking to a stranger, especially if that stranger happened to be particularly attractive or interesting, popular or smart, felt impossible to me. I walked around in a daze for years, asking myself dumb VCR questions. How? How do you just walk up and talk to a person? How can somebody do that? I had all sorts of screwed up beliefs about this, like that you weren't allowed to speak to someone unless you had some practical reason to, or that women would think I was a creepy rapist if I so much as said hello. The problem was that my emotions defined my reality because it felt like people didn't want to talk to me. I came to believe that people didn't want to talk to me. Yeah, feelings create beliefs. Yeah. And thus, my VCR question, how do you just walk up and talk to a person? Yeah, and that's the question. Because I failed to separate what I felt from what was, I was incapable of stepping outside myself and seeing the world for what it was, a simple place where two people can walk up to each other at any time and speak. Many people, when they feel some form of pain or anger or sadness, drop everything and attend to numbing out whatever they're feeling. Their goal is to get back to feeling good again as quickly as possible, even if that means substances or deluding themselves or returning to their shitty values. Learn to sustain the pain you've chosen. When you choose a new value, you are choosing to introduce a new form of pain into your life. Relish it, savor it, welcome it with open arms. Then act despite it. I won't lie, this is going to feel impossibly hard at first. But you can start simple. You're going to feel as though you don't know what to do. But we've discussed this. You don't know anything. Even when you think you do, you really don't know what the fuck you're doing. So, really, what is there to lose? Life is about not knowing and then doing something anyway. All of life is like this, it never changes. Even when you're happy, even when you're farting fairy dust, even when you win the lottery and buy a small fleet of jet skis, you still won't know what the hell you're doing. Don't even forget that. And don't ever be afraid of that. Yeah, that's interesting. Uncertainty, yeah, as a tool for action. Yeah, I liked reading. I enjoyed reading this chapter, to be honest. It was interesting. How about you? You can write your opinions, guys. Um, I think that's it for today. I'll just give you a little time to write your opinions if someone wants to express his, her, their opinion. Actually, something happened to me yesterday. I was walking outside, and there was this group of, well, teenagers or maybe a little older than teenagers, between maybe 17 to 22 years old. I'm not sure. Yeah? And I just looked at one of them. Uh, the sun was already not there, so, and I don't see well. Yeah. So I couldn't clearly see the person, but out of curiosity, I just looked at the person, and the guy spoke to me. Oh, he was speaking very fast. I couldn't understand what he was saying. But in the end, it was like, you are looking at me. Are we going to play this game of eye tie? I think he used that phrase. And I was like, oh no, in the end, when I understood him. And the guy was respectful, smiling, but out of concern that maybe it's unpleasant for him, that maybe this situation may create some tension, I just said no. No, I am not staring at you. Yeah, that was my answer. And kind of it was true because I was not like, staring in a negative way. I just looked at him a few seconds and then looked away. Then he spoke to me. But clearly I acted in a conservative way, yeah, out of fear, had I acted out of some other feeling, maybe I would say something, well, yeah, I look at you because you're handsome, for instance, yeah. And of course, when we act based on our fears, we most of the time, well, at least, I regret the missed opportunity, you know. And our brains are great at uh, terrorizing us. The word terror in Latin means fear. To terrorize is to instill fear. Yeah, why they blow up buildings, kill people, to make others get afraid. Yeah, to instill fear in others. So terror is fear. So there is also emotional terror, mental terror, verbal terror when you make someone fear through words, yeah, through threats, for instance. I will do this and that, blah, blah, blah. So our mind is great at terrorizing us and creating negative scenarios in which we are beaten or we are rejected, we are laughed at. Mark described some of those instances, yes, some of those fears in the book, and that happened to me yesterday. And I'm thinking of that situation, and what happened was, um, yeah, I was alone. They were together, maybe five of them or six, but would I be like beaten up or something? I'm not sure. I don't really know. In theory, I don't know. They looked like, harmless young people, But still, I'm not satisfied with my choice. Yes, after the event, when I analyze it, I'm like, no, why did I choose that fearful, cowardly stance and tactics? So, fear based decisions and thinking is very limiting. It's very conservative. And conservative for me means low quality. Imagine a seed, like the plant of this seed. Imagine the seed would have told itself, I shouldn't open up, I shouldn't grow. What if I'm destroyed? What if they laugh at my leaves? If nature was conservative, life wouldn't exist because all forms of life would be afraid of transformation, of change, you know? A caterpillar would be afraid of becoming a butterfly, you know? So, yeah, being vulnerable, at least from time to time, you know, making yourself vulnerable in some situations, not just, you know, giving away your credit card information. I don't mean that, of course, yeah. But it's probably useful, even if you are rejected, even if you're laughed at. It may happen, but again, you can just draw some lessons and apologize to the other person if they say no, it was uncomfortable or whatever. Yeah, you can say okay, I'm sorry, and just walk away. Yeah, if they attack you, you can protect yourself. You can cry out for help, etc., etc. But unfortunately, many cultures, both conservative and liberal, like democratic societies and cultures, are fear based. And there's so much fear and concern in our lives that we stifle, we drain creativity, we chase away pleasure and possibility and joy from our lives only based on our fear. You know, that's tragic. That's tragic. That's very sad, and that's one of the causes of depression, anxiety. Some crimes, I'm certain that in some cases, you know, some crimes, like for instance, rape, is committed or cheating is committed because of many years of fear. Like, what if I get rejected? Or I'm a priest and it is taboo, but I want it. What if I do it? Will I be rejected by my church? You know, and then we hear stories of this priest was caught high in the car with a male prostitute, for instance, or something like that. Um, Fear, yes, fear and years of suffering based because of that fear, you know. Yeah, that's it. That was my honest story at the end with you. So I encourage you guys to do the same. Share your stories, don't be afraid, because it's therapeutic. You kind of heal yourself. Now, honestly, I told that story that happened to me yesterday, and I feel a little better. There's some comfort, some sense of comfort and ease around my chest as I told you the story, as I shared it with you, as I analyzed it out loud, you know? So, facing your fears, your inner demons, we could call them, your um, I forgot the word, insecurities, that's the word, yeah, is useful. So do the same. Yeah, you can just listen to the book that I'm reading for you, but in that case, you're just a consumer. You just take. When you at least write a comment, you also become a producer. You also give. You also create. Yeah, instead of just only consuming, instead of just taking. Right, that's it. Thank you for your time. High five. A happy new year, everyone. And see you in a year. See you next year. Okay. Bye. Oh.